I am Bonneau Ansley, an active real estate agent and founder of Ansley Real Estate, Christie's International, an award-winning Atlanta-based real estate brokerage that did over $3 billion in sales last year.
And I'm Chris Tuff, one of the first advertisers to work directly with Mark Zuckerberg in 2006. I've since gone on to be the best-selling author of The Millennial Whisperer and Save Your Asks.
And this is Brokering Billions. This podcast is about uncovering the hustle, perseverance, mindset, and tricks that are used by the top real estate agents in the country to help you take your business to the next level.
Oh, it's on, Bonneau.
What do we got,
You're in the hot seat.
What do we
You're in the
got
hot seat.
today?
Well, today, guess what we're going to talk about?
Well, you said you wanted to interview me.
I am. We're going to talk about Bonneau.
What do you got up your sleeves,
We're
bro?
going to, a few things, but we're going to take it back to the beginning, dude. You ready for that?
All right. Let's go.
Well, why don't you introduce us? Where are we?
You know, I'm Bonneau Ansley. I'm here at Ansley headquarters, Ansley Real Estate, Christie's International, right here in hot Atlanta. I'm with my buddy, Chris Tuff, best-selling author,
Let's go.
badass with some tats.
Yeah. The juxtaposition of us two is just too good. It's too good. It's funny, whenever I tell my friends that I've partnered with Bonneau, they scratch their head and they're like, actually, I think I get it. Like, it makes sense. It makes sense in the end. But at first glance, it's a little yin and yang.
Well, we're going to see if we need to cut this interview. I don't know what you're going to get into here, but
All right. Well,
let's go.
So
what you got?
Let's just go with my perception of Bonneau, right? So I've been in Atlanta. I grew up in Atlanta, went to, high school here, middle school. And it was interesting because I can almost pinpoint the time when the massive houses surrounding Atlanta turned from whatever that woman's name, we're not going to mention this woman's name, to Bonneau Ansley. And I remember turning to my wife, Julie, and I was like, who is this Bonneau Ansley guy? Any big, unbelievable house, it's got his name listed on it. And I'm like, how can one guy actually be listing all of these houses?
God, I'm starting to love this interview.
But like, honestly, and then I'd start asking around and a lot of people know of Bonneau, but I want to go back to the very beginning because as an outsider, my perception of Bonneau was like, here's a guy that started in real estate, which was his family's business, and was handed everything. And then I get to know the real story. And I'm like, wait, this guy's a total badass. He's done this. It's the exact opposite of what that perception was. And then I'm like, wait, I actually kind of like this dude. Maybe we could partner on a podcast. So let's go back. Take me to the very beginning, right? I mean,
you mean like after college?
After college, right? Well, what was school like, first of all?
Oh, guys, school sucked for Bonneau Ansley. Look, you guys, listeners, you have kids. Some might fit in this box. Some might not fit in this box, right? The box is just, I can't wait to learn. I'll be a good student. I was so outside the normal box. So my first 20 years, I was just a hellraiser. I was a disruption in class. I was in and out of every school in Atlanta. I went to boarding school. I was a ton of fun. But school was not my thing. Dyslexic, right? Whatever. I just couldn't get it. I didn't like to read. And so when I got to college, Chris, I felt free. And I didn't have all these teachers and disciplinarians and, breathing down my throat. And my first year in college, I started a t-shirt company with some dudes. And we started silk screen printing, and we started building or making t-shirts in a warehouse in Athens, Georgia.
What kind of t-shirts were?
Oh man, just fraternities and sororities. I ended up getting contracts with all of them, and every single one of their parties, and they had parties every weekend. They'd make a shirt, and they'd make a couple hundred shirts, and we had a little art department. We had free help from the graphic design people that wanted to cut their teeth on it. And so labor was cheap. We were self-screen printing ourselves, had a case of beer and, had music going. We were printing these t-shirts. We'd high five, put them in the boxes and drop them off at a fraternity or sorority house. And
love it.
At the end of the day, that was a great business. And I started to make a lot of money. And then I got to interact with people. I'm like, God, this is really fun. And then I started taking business classes. I'm like, I'm kind of doing a little business myself. How does it all work? Well, this is how it really works. And then I started to take real estate classes. And I'm like, oh my God, this is gold. This is amazing. This is how this works. And then my perception of school completely changed.
So when was that? Was that like your
my
sophomore,
junior year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Freshman, sophomore, I was doing the t-shirt thing, being a fraternity guy, like having a great time. Junior, senior year, I kind of got serious. I'm like, okay, I'm going to still print these t-shirts and I'm going to learn about real estate. Right. So take my senior year, I ended up buying some property in Atlanta, built a house, put 4 of my buddies in it. They paid for the mortgage, and I'm like, this really, really works. Right. And I got the bug. And then, Chris, I decided I don't want to be in Atlanta.
Yeah.
This was probably 1 year out of college, 23, 24 years old, whatever it was. And I went down to Savannah, Georgia, and I had a buddy working at a place called the Ford Plantation. This guy wouldn't take my call, the owner of the Ford Plantation, a guy named Peter Pollock. Peter was a great guy. Peter and Chip Dolan and Steve Schramm, and they taught me how to sell. But first I had to get the job. So I kept calling. Peter would return my call. I ended up showing up. And guys, when I was 24, I looked like I was 16, 17 years old. And I went and said, Peter, I'm your guy. You got to hire me. I'm going to sell property for you, Ford Plantation. Like, I got this, dude. Let's go. And he's like, no. I like your enthusiasm. Why don't you kind of be my little assistant, whatever. So I said, okay, fine. So I started being his assistant for a little bit, and he gave me a list of prospects that have called in off the Rob report or called in off our billboard off 95. And I just started calling them, and I would get them somehow to come to Ford Plantation. And when Peter was out with another client or out of town or whatever, I would take them. This is my first few months there, and I'd sell them property. And I was like, this is amazing. And I started doing that for 2 or 3 years. And I, sold so much property. The market was really, really good back, 1998, 1999. And then I met a home builder because I'd sell a lot. Then I'd introduce my client from Boston who was coming down here to retire to this home builder. And the home builder would build a house. And about that time, there was a new development going on north of Savannah called Palmetto Bluff. Mm-hmm. Luckily, I went over there and made a deal to buy all the land around this proposed Auberge hotel that they were going to do. And I brought that builder in who I met from the Ford Plantation. We just started building houses, man. And we built over 100 houses from 02 to 08 till the music stopped. But I learned so much doing that. About that time too, Chris, in 08, I was finishing a project in Atlanta, and that project didn't go real well.
No.
08 was tough. I built 23 townhomes, and I ended up transitioning in 2009 from a developer to a sales agent. And I kind of did it. My wife was a sales agent, and she was really, really good. I'm like, look, I don't want my name on any signs in front of somebody's yard. That's weird. Let's just put Jen's name on there. And did that for a few months. And then at a certain point, I flipped a switch and I said, I'm going to be a real estate agent. This was in 2009. But if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it different. And that first year in the business in 09, I was the number one realtor in Atlanta. It was a pretty bad year in 09. There wasn't a lot of competition.
The bar was low.
The bar was low, but I started off, marketing myself.
And what would you say, what was your biggest thing out of the gates that you said to yourself, but now I'm going to do this differently? How did you execute that differently?
I took a commercial approach to a unorganized type business, had reports, and I had ways that I was going to follow up, and I had ways that I was going to consistently send postcards and mailings and I just did everything times 10. Like if the guy in the cubicle next to me was doing this, I was doing it times 10. And I was doing everything and anything that I could do to get my name out in Atlanta that I sell real estate.
Well, I mean, one thing that I can attest to, Bonneau, is that you are a hustler, right? And I mean that in the most positive light, because I think hustlers can oftentimes be, cheesy or disingenuous. I mean it in the most genuine of ways. And one of my favorite parts of the book, Brokering Billions, that you highlight is, I think it's along the lines of identifying your micro influencers within your market. And I love how you went about that. Can you tell listeners a little bit more about what that looked like?
What's a micro influencer? So a micro influencer is in any town that you're in, listener, it's the guy that cuts the hair, right? It's the accountant. It's the guy that does the taxes. It's the guy that parks the valet cars, man, at the local, restaurants, right? So I made sure that I had, 50, 60 micro influencers. This is my first year, right? And every time I'd see him, I'd slip him $100 bill, and I'd be like, look, man, this is the $100 bill. This is yours. Next Mercedes that drives in here, next Porsche.
This is to the valet parker.
Oh, totally. Make sure my brochure, that talks about me with my business card is in the passenger seat, And I just did that unrelentlessly, and I still kind of do it today. But that's what you have to do if you're going to break out on the scene. I mean, at that time, there was probably 18,000 real estate agents in Atlanta. I'm no different than anybody else. I just took it very, very seriously that this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be the number one realtor in Atlanta by a long shot. And I'm not going to stop doing it.
Yep. And one of my other things, I think it's right in line with identifying the micro influencers. But one thing I've learned from you, Bonneau, is hang out where your target is, right? Mm-hmm. Like go ahead and spend the extra $30 to sit at the bar at Blue Ridge Grill, right? Mm-hmm. Like that. I thought that you do things in a surprisingly creative way that have massive payoffs. You can't put a specific ROI to it, but it's like,
but it makes a lot of sense though, too. I mean, if I'm sitting at a nice restaurant, right, where the average ticket's $150 or whatever, I'm meeting people to the right, left, and sometimes I might buy their meal if I think that it might pay off. So those are the type of things that, you just can't put a price on those things, and you don't do it once and kind of feel, oh man, that was great. No, you keep doing it and you go do it the next night and the next night and the next week. And it starts to become a habit, right? And these habits that you create early on stay with you. And that's what you got to do.
Well, and it's such a different approach, Bonneau, than some of the interviews we've had with very successful agents, which is, more of the prospecting through very arduous dialing and, dialing for dollars. Yeah. I can almost tell that's not really your style, right?
No, I've never made a cold call, but I will say, when I tell our agents here at Ansley, are your habits on par with your dreams for tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. Are you doing things that set up every day that'll pay off with what you want to get to tomorrow, and those habits just, you got to keep making those good habits. And then Chris, I mean, once you have a good year, like 2009 was a good year, right? What am I going to do the next year, right? And we have agents that talk about, okay, January 1, I start at 0 volume. Every year the clock starts back at 0. And you're thinking it's overwhelming. How am I going to do this again? How am I going to sell this many houses again? And how am I going to double my business again and again and again? You've got to change those habits to be on par again with what you want to do that next year. So if I did $16 million that first year, that second year, I think I did like 44 million. Like I changed everything, created a new book of habits that I had to go and check mark that first year to get me to that next level to go to 44 million. Right.
So that first year, right? I mean, that puts you way ahead of the average. I mean, I would guess like top 1% of realtors in your first year, right? So as you're going out to market in that first year, where is it that you started, right? Did you start like where?
By the way, sidebar, we interviewed Elizabeth DeWitty out of Palm Beach. I think she started 6 years ago. In her first year, she did like $60 million.
Yeah.
I mean, did she say that?
Yeah, she did.
I mean, so that's incredible. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, crazy market down there in Palm Beach, whatever. But I mean, wow,
Yeah.
to start there, right? I mean,
Totally.
But so, yeah, I mean, my first year, I just, as I said, I mean, you know, I was obsessed.
And so you went to your network first, or did you kind of go at it across like all, you know, unleash the fury across all outlets?
Of course I went to my, network, right? But everybody's in a different stage of life. Like my whole network wasn't ready to sell.
Sure.
Right. But you start with that. You start with your micro influencers, your multipliers, right? Whatever you call them. And you never know where the next phone call is going to go. You know, I mean, I was the number one agent before I was the number one agent. Right. So I would go and tell people, you know, my first few months in Atlanta, hey, look, I'm the number one guy here in town, you know, so and I wasn't the number one guy in town. Right. But I mean, I ended up finishing off that way, but you got to kind of play that part because your name is on a sign in these people's front yard. They don't take that lightly.
Yeah. Right.
So you have to, you know, have a great reputation going into it because you're part of their sphere once you put your sign in their yard. And you got to perform, and you don't just sit back and wait for the phone to ring. You know, you got to be so proactive. And as we've interviewed so many different agents on this podcast, I mean, dozens and dozens of agents, like the big thing I hear is that the quality that most of them have is they're impatient. And you got to be impatient because you got to keep going. And the nice thing about our deals are they usually close in 30 days or 45 days, right? It's a quick cycle.
And that's what, you know, what's crazy about that is that's the one trait that made you have such a hard time through the first 20 years of your education, right? Like, I mean, which is actually your impatience and persistence is probably one of your greatest gifts, right?
Yeah.
Yet you were penalized for it up until college to where you can actually make it work for you.
God, 100%.
All right. So, but no, you talk a lot about the curves in life, and you reference one of those first big curves that was thrown your way with a house fire. Tell listeners a little bit more about that and what that did for you.
Yeah. Life couldn't have been better for Jen and I. We were in Savannah. We were doing the Palmetto Bluff thing.
What year is this?
It's 2004.
Okay.
Jen was pregnant with our first child, Blakely. I think she was 9 months pregnant. And, you know, a year before, we had just finished building our dream house, man, right on the water, Savannah. We had a dock, we had a little boat. I mean, newlyweds, like having a baby, like new house, like making money, like market was good, like boom. Next thing you know, our house is in flames. I mean, these aren't just black smoke, like, I mean, I'll never forget. I mean, we were driving home from dinner downtown and we see the smoke in the distance. And I said to Jen, I said, God, that doesn't look good. I mean, this is nasty black smoke. That's metal and plastic and somebody's life is going to change. Like, this is awful. And we continued driving on down and instinctively we started driving a little faster. And we get in our neighborhood and everybody was out in the streets just staring at us, driving. We kept getting closer and closer. Next thing you know, it's our house that has flames, 50, 80 feet in the air. And everything that we owned at that time was gone. Gone. I mean, literally in a split second, we have what we have on, and that is it. That was a big life curve. And what do you do? Do you retreat?
So
How do you,
what did you do?
well, I mean, we the community was phenomenal to us. Got us, deodorant and toothbrush and some clothes to wear. And next thing you know, we made a life decision after a couple of days and moved to Atlanta. And a few weeks later, we had Blakely Ansley, who's now 17 years old. And we decided that we were going to start our business life career in Atlanta. That's where our family was. And that was the easiest move to do. But in that time, that was a big curve. And we took it upon ourselves to move and start fresh. We kept going, building houses in Palmetto Bluff. We started a great project or a few projects in Atlanta. Jen was selling real estate, but we didn't let it sit too long, and we pivoted. And it's a big life curve, and we changed everything that we were doing and got back on our feet.
Tell me if I'm right in this, Bonneau. Jen's very much a kind of calming presence in your life. Talk about your relationship with Jen and how you complement each other.
Yeah. Awesome.
Because I was I want to tell a quick story, because as Bonneau and I were in like our courtship of whether or not we were going to do this podcast and go all in together. Bonneau invited my very introverted wife, Julie, on a double date. I think it was like the fourth or fifth time that you had asked me. And I turned to my wife, Julie, who does not really like double dates, nor does she like new people, right? I was like, Julie, we got to do this, right? And she goes, let me guess where we're going. I was like, sure. She goes, Blue Ridge Grill. I was like, yes, but like we haven't been there for years, blah, blah, blah. She was like, all right, fine, I'll go, right? Because Jen really wants to meet you. And so we get to Blue Ridge Grill. I'm dragging my super introverted, amazing wife into this dinner that she wants nothing to do with, right? And the second we sat down, Bonneau, it was unlike, we totally lost track of time, right? Julie's laughing, hanging out with Jen. She's kicking me and be like, I really like this couple.
Yeah.
And she doesn't like anyone.
Wow.
Right? But seriously, right? It was such a testament to not only who you are, but like also the marriage that you've been able to create. And I think we neglect to look at that when we trying to assess our business life. Sometimes we forget that one of the most important people is right next to us, right?
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up. So Jen and I have been together since we were 18 years old, right? We went through 4 years at the University of Georgia together. We've had 2 kids. We've been through so many different life curves, and always remain stronger at the end of every single one of them. And, we've done business together. We've done everything together. And, it's been awesome to have her, as a partner, in everything that we've done.
One of the other things that I want listeners to hear, for anyone that's in Atlanta, they know of the Ansley name, right? We've got the whole neighborhood of Ansley, right? We've got Ansley, the club, right, of Ansley. So the Ansley name has deep roots in this city. And it's very easy for listeners to think, here's a guy from the Ansley family, right, that has been given everything, right? Like that has just been, this was all served, all of Bonneau's success had been served up on a silver platter while he was spoon fed with a silver spoon. Talk a little bit about that, right? Like how have you, because the Bonneau that I know is very different than the one that I perceived to, understand in the market.
Well, thanks. I'm very fortunate to, have be part of the family that I'm part of, but I didn't want that to define me.
Sure.
Right? And that really motivated me to set off on my own. That motivated me to move to Savannah, right after college. That motivated me to really never work for anybody but myself, except for when I was at Ford Plantation from that training ground. But I really wanted to create my own path, and I'm not a corporate structure type of guy. We knew that for my first 20 years in school. And, I really had this motivation that was all encompassing, that I wanted to do something for myself and for my family. And Jen and I wanted to do something together. And we still do. And that's what gets us up every single morning. The thing that drives me the most is being able to help and mentor and teach, our agents here at Ansley. And that's how we've been able to grow from me, 7, 8 years ago to close to 400 agents across Georgia and
Crazy.
9 different locations, because we've got this incredible environment where our agents are just, I mean, look at Katie McGurk. Katie came to us 5 years ago or something, and she was working with somebody in another firm, and she was doing probably, 12 to $15 million worth of real estate. God, that girl will do over 100 million this year. She's a single mom. She's got a child. She's doing it all, and she's just killing it out there. And I love seeing those success stories.
That's awesome.
And there's so many other examples like that are under our umbrella here at Ansley of agents that have just taken it to the next level and take it to the next level every other year. I love being part of that, and I wouldn't take that away for anything in the world.
And so bring us to kind of, summarize from kind of 2008 to present day, which I think you've just kind of summarized, but take us through a little bit more of what happened from there, because obviously there's been tremendous success.
Yeah. So I started working at another real estate company here in Atlanta, old name, great company. And I, started selling, and then I wanted to double my business every year. We talked about that. We talked about how to do that. And we talk a lot about that in the book, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
After I got to a point where I did the same amount of volume 2 years in a row, I think it was 175 million. And I did that again the second year. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not growing. So at that time, I made the decision to start my own business. And for all the entrepreneurs out there, you just got to take that leap. And it was really hard, but I, got a business license and, got set up and bought a little office building off of Peachtree Park Drive. And several founders came with me to start this business, and we started it, and we just hadn't looked back. And it's been just the most enjoyable ride. Not every day's perfect, but golly, when you're starting something from scratch like that, and then you look back over a 7-8 year period, and we're sitting here doing this podcast, and I'm still selling real estate, but when I hit that same number, I had to go keep growing, and that's when I started the business. And I started the business the same way that I started my team, right? And I started my team with people that are able to do things that I don't do well. And there's a ton of things I don't do well, but you've got to be able to give and release control away for other people to do other things for you. And
delegation.
Oh God. We need to have a special one of these on delegation. But when I started Ansley Real Estate, or it was called Ansley Atlanta Real Estate at that time, I had to put together in piece with the best people to run different facets of this business. And luckily, being a student of people and understanding, EQ so much more than IQ, which is an emotional intelligence, and understanding, how this person's going to work with other people and everything else, we were able to put this leadership group together that has helped us grow so quickly and so well. Now we've got the Christie's brand, and we're affiliated with this great company called At Properties in Chicago, and we've just, we've got luxury portfolio. We've got all these little add-ons to the business, the small little business that we started. It's really, really satisfying.
So there was one time in what I would call kind of our courtship, just for background of those listeners. So, I grew up in the digital and social media world, and, big kind of, thought leader in marketing and advertising, specifically social media, from the very early days of that. And then, subsequently followed that up with authoring 2 pretty successful books, one around how to motivate younger teams, The Millennial Whisperer, and then my most recent book called Save Your Ass,
awesome
which is
book.
Perfect application for real estate. And that's what really got me excited after I spoke to one of your small group forums, bunch of CEOs, and you pulled me aside and you were like, Chris, some of that stuff in Save Your Ask has great application for real estate. by the way, I'm writing this book, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, I'm happy to help out. And that was our first touch point. And what got me really excited about what Bonneau was up to was the application of my own dreams and intentions to change the world through this idea of genuine connection, but also by saving our asks. And there's no better application for that than real estate, right? So I started to get excited, but I began my courtship with Bonneau that culminated in a lunch, probably I would say our 8th meeting together. And, we were starting to get our idea around what brokering billions could and should be. And I asked Bonneau at that lunch, I said, Bonneau, I have one question for you. And it's, who is it that you are really after in terms of the target for impacting with this book and podcast? Do you remember that moment?
Yeah.
And I said, let's just pretend this person's name is John or Sally or whatever. Tell me about this person. And you said to me, here's someone that got into real estate that feels stuck. And they got into real estate because of all of the freedom it affords them, right? The fact that they can actually have work-life balance, they can pursue some of these things, but they feel stuck and they've been unable to break through some of those ceilings, whether that be self-imposed or just not knowing some of these amazing tips and tricks. I want to help that person really get out of that ceiling, that rut, right? And that's what got me so excited, right? Because I was like, holy cow, like here we can actually, with our powers combined, really impact an addressable market of 1.7 million people, right? And so
that are real estate agents, right? I mean,
right. So, and now, like, here we are further along in this journey. I don't know, we've probably done like 15, 20 podcasts, and I'm starting to see some of these things that I'm looking at the world of real estate differently, right? And I also see it. I'm like, wait, like I was telling Julie the other night, I was like, I think, I think I've learned a lot from Bonneau just by being next to him and through the process of this whole thing. Like, maybe there's a future in me being able to help out there, right?
Hold on a minute. That's not a bad idea.
What's that?
Well, what if we just did a little, experiment? I think that you could be an incredible real estate agent. You can keep doing what you're doing, right? The great thing about real estate, guys, right? You can do it on your own time. Chris, with everything that you're learning, talking to these people that broker all these types of houses and everything else, I'm going to challenge you I think that you could sell $10 million worth of real estate in your first year. Will you accept that challenge for me? Yeah. I mean,
I got to get my license, right? How hard is that?
For me, it was pretty hard. 3 or 4 times, but we'll edit that out. But Chris, I'm going to put you on a path. Okay. This is going to be a phenomenal experiment. Listeners, Chris Tuff, my co-host, we're going to put him in business selling real estate.
By the way, my only experience in real estate is buying 3 houses, right?
Yeah.
Like that's it. That's my only experience.
This is perfect. I'm going to tell you how to get your license. Hopefully you can pass it on first or second try. Okay. Online courses. You're going to join my team.
Yeah.
I'm going to mentor you.
All right.
And in your first year, if you don't sell $10 million worth of real estate, I failed.
All right.
I failed, not you.
All right.
But you got to put it together. You got to do everything that we're talking about in the book. You got to read that book. You got to, are you, I mean, can you do this?
Yes. I'm in. I'm all in.
Are you in?
I'm all in. I'm all in. I'm all in.
Oh my God.
But here's what's going to be cool. All right. So
I love this.
Now that I think about this in application, we could actually bring the listeners along to my progress, and that'll actually be my accountability too, because I have to do it now. If
we're going to interview step by step what you learned on your first listing appointment, your first house sale, right? Your first bomb where you lost on a bidding war when you're representing a buyer. And these are real life applications, right?
Sure.
So you've got me who sold a lot of real estate and continue. And now we're going to start with you who's just going to get into the business. And I think that's going to be a phenomenal journey for a lot of our listeners to see how our systems work as a new agent to start using our systems, right?
I love it.
I can't
All right. So
Wait.
for those listeners that are thinking about listing a house, go ahead and experiment. By the time this thing airs, I'll have my license. Go ahead and experiment. Obviously, most of you are real estate agents yourselves, but like, just throw me a bone, please. Like,
Nobody's going to throw you a bone. That's what, look, listeners out there,
everyone's out there for
every real estate agent out there is out there for on their own.
Yep.
And, but it's a welcoming community, right? And you're going to do phenomenal. I can't wait. Well, if you don't, you're fired. Because after a year, we've already said that's the goal, right? We're going to have to shut everything down. So
all right,
$10 million your first year. It might be a down year too here. The market's kind of a little shaky.
Yeah, no, everything everything. Okay, great. I've got everything stacked against me. All right, let's go. Let's do this thing.
All right.
I'm excited. Well, so, I think here, we're going to be doing a lot of these types of interviews, and we'll be diving into specific subjects in the future. And we will also be doing quick check-ins as to how I'm progressing in my race to 10 million
I love it.
from almost zero knowledge of real estate.
Well, let's say zero.
All right, that's perfect. That's perfect. Let's go.
All right. I'm Bonneau Ansley.
And I am Chris Tuff.
We're Brokering Billions. Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks, everyone.